Okay, we are recording. Fabulous. Henry, do you want to come up? I know Park is going to be a little delayed. There's so much going on right now.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Um, Good to see everyone. Also just a little bit delayed because of uh, all of the exciting
Gestures at
pre-upgrade
everything.
stuff. Yeah, I posted in the validator updates channel. There's
Great.
actually a whole great album by a UK band called Public Service Broadcasting, and they do these like remixes of historical historical audio and like newsreels and stuff into like electronic music, and they have this whole album of like music inspired by the space race, and they have a one that's about the like are we go for uh,
Go
the
for launch.
launch. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's the theme music for today.
amazing. As people are trickling in, I know this is old news, but I haven't heard a public comment on the haircut.
Hmm.
How are you feeling? How does it,
It's good.
how's the
It's good.
experience?
It's fun. Yeah, it's
Was
been
there any
fun.
particular inspiration for the chop?
I'd thought about it for a while, and then I guess just decided to do it. So
Amazing.
that was that. Yeah. Um,
Duh. Hey guys. Gonna ping our teams. Henry's gone. Hey guys. Sam, you're the only one here. So, oh, Connor's here. Amazing. Connor, are you gonna speak today? Okay, there's Connor. Connor, you want to talk today? Here's Henry.
Not sure what happened there, but I seem to have been ejected
Oh,
and maybe having issues. No, I mean my whole computer just like died.
oh,
Yeah.
great timing.
Spooky. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Park said she was gonna be a little late, but I expect Labs can talk first. So, welcome. Hello, everyone. This is the last community call of 2024 for Penumbra, representing Penumbra in all of its supportive building roles. We have Penumbra Labs and Radiant Commons. Henry is here representing
Yeah.
Penumbra Labs, and we can have more folks possibly from the audience come in to
Yeah.
talk for Labs as well. There's a lot going on, like right this second. So I know that there's a lot to share.
Yeah. I was actually just in the midst of drafting a tweet about it, but I kind of ran right up into the timeline for
Yep.
being here. So, yeah, big news is over the last two community calls, we had a discussion about um, uh, various stuff with the network, and in particular, how do we solve or work around this Noble issue, right? So, as a recap on that, there was a which people are probably familiar with, but just for context and for the recording, uh, Noble did an upgrade in November, and that upgrade was actually supposed to add support for the BEC32M addresses that are used by Penumbra or by Namada, or I believe Agoric also uses a special long address type that allows them to like encode like contract calls into IBC messages. Um, And basically, what happened was that for kind of historical reasons, like some Bec32 and Bec32M implementations have this like length limit that is tied to the length of the Bitcoin address, because that's what the encoding format was originally designed for. And kind of whether that's short-sighted or not, like that's what it is. And basically, the Noble upgrade accidentally included a like a length limit. And unfortunately, because that code, which is present as part of a middleware that only applies to USDC, is actually controlled by Circle. Um, Someone at Circle, like Circle has a whole process where like, any code change has to go through this whole, cycle. And so that's been quite slow. Um, Originally, it sounded like there was a pathway for that to get fixed on the Noble side more quickly. And then that turned out to be slower than was ideal. So instead, as a result of the discussion that we had over the last two community calls, there's a different idea, which is to do basically adversarial interop, or well, not exactly adversary, but like, um, you know, just have Penumbra like do its own change to try to work around the other chain's bug. And so that was implemented in the form of new address encoding for Penumbra that we're calling transparent addresses. And these look like T Penumbra 1 and then the address data. And they're only 32 bytes of binary data. So it looks exactly like any other Cosmos address. And these addresses also will deposit funds right into the shielded pool. So unlike T addresses on Zcash or Nemata, they're not actually transparent accounts. They're just like a single pointer into the shielded pool. And the trade-off is that when you're using these transparent addresses, normally you have many different addresses for the same Penumbra account. So that means that when you're doing IBC transfers, every time you do a transfer, it can transfer to a unique new address, and that prevents linkability. And the one trade-off that we're not able to kind of square that circle with these compact addresses for compatibility is there's only one T-adder per Penumbra account. And so because of that, we thought it would be good to call it transparent addresses because that's a sort of familiar concept. And even if the privacy guarantees that you get on Penumbra are much stronger, it's still, if somebody has that's kind of the right direction for someone to make a conceptual error in it, right? Like if somebody is like not, getting all the like ins and outs, right? Because the whole point of Penumbra is that like you shouldn't have to, as a user, you shouldn't have to think about any of this advanced cryptography. It should all just kind of work. And so as this temporary workaround, there's this new chain upgrade, which is scheduled for like 2 hours from now, or sorry, 4 hours from now, is going to add this new address encoding, and that will allow USDC transfers to and from Noble. This has been tested on the Noble testnet, or against the Noble testnet with Pickley. And because Pickley is just like software that runs on someone's computer, right? There's no like process for new Pickley releases. So that'll work immediately. Getting the changes in Prax wallet will probably take a little bit longer because Prax releases have to go through the approval process for the Chrome store. And so we'll basically the kind of sequence is approximately 4 hours from now. So this proposal was submitted earlier this week. It's on track to pass about, I think, 3 hours, 50 minutes from now. And then approximately 4 hours and 20 minutes, or 10, I guess by this point, anyway, let's just call it 4 hours from now. Um, all of the nodes, and this is how a Penumbra upgrade works, all of the nodes in the network observe that this upgrade proposal passed, and then they will uh, the software sees that the upgrade proposal has passed, and they all like cleanly halt and shut down. And at that point, all of the validator operators have a choice, which is they can keep running the old software, or they can all do an upgrade to the software that was recommended by the upgrade, by the governance proposal. And that's kind of a subtle point, but it's worth discussing, which is on some other systems, right? Like on other like smart contract governance or whatever, there's a whole like automatic code deployment feature that's part of the upgrade. And that actually makes the security of the governance be this like kind of critical component because like, oh, someone could attack the governance and they like, exploit a bug in the vote counting or they like get too many governance tokens or something and then they can just like deploy code and then they can like rug everybody and take all their money, right? And like that happens on Ethereum sometimes. And this mechanism with Penumbra, where the governance vote is a coordination mechanism, but the actual upgrade is deployed by validators, means that somebody who just like, it's like, let's say there's a bug in the governance module on Penumbra. It was audited, so it seems unlikely, but like, let's say it happened, right? An attacker who was able to exploit that bug can't actually just like unilaterally change the rules of the chain. And that has to go through this whole like off-chain kind of social process. And that makes it a lot more robust. So that's today's big event is there's the scheduled upgrade. It's going to bring in T addresses, which should unblock USDC transfers to Noble, initially in Pickley and later in Prax. And hopefully that upgrade is going to go smoothly. Yeah, does anybody have questions?
Not especially. I think I know I'm late. Sorry. I'm excited to see it go through. I also noticed some cool stuff, which is like the proposal like was responded to more quickly than previous proposals, which I think is a really cool metric. It means that people are like really paying attention, and that's exciting to me on our side. Now it's just a hope that paying attention to the voting process also means paying attention to your node. So we'll have to see if that happens, but I feel pretty confident. The chatter has kind of like reflected the possibility or that probability. So I guess this is a good chance for anyone who's in the audience. Like, also, if you happen to be running software on Penumbra for the upcoming upgrade, I assume that Ember has told you you should probably upgrade. Like, but yeah, so that I guess that's my only thing is like I think it is really cool to think about the differences between this kind of upgrade and what is more, I guess, traditional of the ecosystem. So yeah.
No changes to comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the actual changes to on the oh wow, we have two incorrect AI answers.
Yeah, this is
Nice.
very incorrect, actually.
Um,
That is
the-
madly incorrect.
Yeah, so another thing that's worth mentioning or clarifying is like these the changes to the protocol are very small, right? So this is not any kind of like major fundamental upgrade. What this is doing is like doing the minimal tweaks necessary to the core consensus logic to work around this Noble issue. And then there are a few other small tweaks that, again, are just basically hooks to allow building more exciting client-side features. So the full node software PD needs to, this is in reply to social architect node. There's a new PD version that's needed, but for validators. And people should upgrade Pickley, because that way you can use the new features. But old Pickley will continue to work after the upgrade. The only thing is that it won't be able to use, it doesn't know about transparent addresses, so it wouldn't be able to use the USDC features. But no changes to Comet, and there's not like significant changes to the protocol happening here. One of the things about the dev process for Penumbra is that like the core on-chain protocol is, I think, like pretty complete. There's a lot of exciting stuff that could be done for big new expansions to the protocol, but I think at the moment the focus is on kind of the client-side user experience. Yeah. For migration, both flags needed in command. Oh yeah. So okay, I wasn't there for all of the stuff the last time, but or like as I wasn't running a node, I mean, so I didn't have the specific problem, but I do know that one of the changes that's been made to the software is that it now is going to check when you run the upgrade command, it will check the software version so that it's the like, oops, I accidentally ran upgrade with the old version of PD. That failure mode is going to get eliminated. I don't know, maybe Connor's in the audience. Maybe Connor, if you have thought, probably you know more about the flags point. I just don't want to say the wrong thing.
Connor, do you want to jump up here and talk about it? Oh, cool. Awesome. Hi, Connor.
Hey, what's up, folks? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
What's up? I didn't see the comment referenced in chat, so could somebody read that aloud to me so I can chime in?
One note here for the migration, both flags -- home and -- comet home is needed in command. We had problems last time when these flags were not added to migrate command. Let's make it clear in the migration help doc.
That's really good feedback. So the assumption we've made there is we try always to have like sane defaults on all our CLI tooling. So the default directory that Penumbra is going to write its node state, with Penumbra the node state is actually constituted of two different application state. One is the PD, the Penumbra daemon, and the other is Comet BFT. So both of those by default directories will be saved into a node directory. If you're running like a very simple deployment on, for example, like a cloud VM, you probably have the default paths there. But depending on how you run your node, you may very well be separating the Comet BFT context from the PD context, or you just might be using different directories. When in doubt, go ahead and add those flags. The way the docs are currently structured is if they're in the default location, you don't need the flags. However, you can explicitly provide them to override that behavior. When in doubt, let's add them. If anybody has any specific recommendations on language for the guide, happy to review and happy to push those changes up as soon as today. Really appreciate the feedback.
Sick. Thanks for that.
Any more questions of that nature from anybody in the room? And while I have the floor, I'll just I think the comms have been pretty clear on this front. It's very important that, assuming the upgrade proposal does pass and the chain halts as scheduled for the coordinated upgrade window, all node operators, including validators, should be running that PD migrate command with or without the home arguments using the newest version of the software. So the most recently published tag is 0.81.0. The whole point of running that PD migrate process is to migrate your pre-upgrade state with the post-upgrade logic. So just make sure to check your version string before running that command, and then you should be good to go.
Hell yeah. Any other? Maybe we can hold a little bit of space for if anyone else has any other questions. We kind of have a smaller audience today, I assume because of the upcoming holiday. But maybe we'll just pause for a second, and if there's anything else. But also, Connor, I want to welcome you to being here always on stage because like you have a great brain, and hearing things from the Penumbra Labs team, like we're always like happy and willing to hear that. So if there's ever anything you'd like, in my opinion, and Ember, like stop me and step on my toes if that's wrong, but like if there's anything you feel like people should know about that you think is really cool, please jump in and talk about it.
Absolutely. Happy to do so. Thanks for the very explicit nod to being so available, Park. Appreciate your work here.
Yeah, of course, all the time. Cool. Okay, well, so there was actually one other question from a Penumbra Labs team member, but maybe it's worth gesturing to Henry. Like, what's happening in the new year? What do you have on the horizon?
Yeah, so this is exciting. Like I was saying before in my slightly rambly answer to the anyway, so yeah, the current story of Penumbra, I think, is that at the core protocol level, there's an enormous amount of raw capability, but it isn't exposed in a way that makes like a really great user experience. And so the thing that the PL team has been working on is actually like mostly focused on user experience, on building interfaces, and on making it so that the kind of end-to-end protocol flows are all really easy to use and are super powerful. So we talked a little bit in the last week's call about the new DEX front end that looks and feels a lot like a centralized exchange, but is actually like, you know, the cool like decentralized protocol. That code was hoping that we could have like a kind of alpha version of it posted, but just want to make sure that okay, even if it's like, hey, this is an alpha, maybe it has bugs or whatever, you do want to make sure that there's no like, you know, known bugs of like, you know, mispricing the order or something. That would be bad. And so as soon as there's a little bit more just kind of testing and completion on that, I think it would make sense to share that with the beta channel in Discord and get people playing with it. But that's going to be really cool. A lot of the advanced capabilities of the DEX, like the routing, limit orders, passive liquidity, and so on, are going to be exposed through that interface, which I'm really excited about. Another thing that it's super cool and exciting is there's work ongoing for bringing Prax Wallet to mobile, and taking all of the like ultralight node that's embedded in the wallet and like getting it to run on the phone. That's something that Tal from PL has been working on. If you want to, you know, who'd asked the question actually. So, you know, if you want to come and talk about it, that's also excited for that. But that's going to be really cool. And I'm also excited about mobile support because in some ways, the Chrome extension model is kind of like the like hard mode of software where like the most you have is like WASM, like you can't really do threads. There's like a whole team at Google that is like working to take away all the features that you rely on, and all of this stuff. And so in some ways, especially in terms of performance, we're expecting that the performance for mobile is actually going to be much better than what we see on the web at the moment, which is a pretty big and cool thing to be excited about. I don't know, Tal, if there's anything you wanted to say about it.
I don't think Tall's not. Tall, do you want to join this? Oh, do you want to join the stage, Tall? Sorry, we should not be
Okay,
doxing
no
our
worries.
people.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just wanted to. There's not an obligation there.
People
Just
by their
wanted to make.
username.
Just wanted to make sure the opportunity was there. Cool. And then yeah, another thing that that I've been thinking about that I'd be interested in feedback from the community about, because it's, you know, potentially something, you know, people might have opinions about or potentially spicy, is uh, some ideas of ways that we could improve user experience for Penumbra on the web using TEs. So I know there's like a whole, you know,
Please?
TEs like in
Please
SGX or,
mention.
well, or like basically cloud enclaves. So there's been a lot of work recently. The Flashbots team has been pushing really hard on like, can we make enclaves that are not terrible, and especially for privacy software, right? Like, you know, they get like kind of a bad rap in, I think, a somewhat deserved way, but maybe slightly unfair. Um, because it's sort of like, oh well, what if they have in the past these like secure computing things have been used as kind of a cop out for like, oh, what if instead of doing the cryptography we just like put it in the magic box. But the thought is that for situations like the like web experience for Penumbra, right? That code has to the code that does the proving is running in WASM on the user's computer. And we designed the whole protocol so that it's possible for a user to do that. But because of the restrictions or limitations of the browser environment, it's a lot slower than we would like. So as a kind of concrete example, right, on my MacBook, it's like, okay, this is like a pretty good, you know, computer. When I run Pictly to do a transfer transaction, all of the proving that's being done in native code happens in like 700 milliseconds. So that's like super fast, snappy, like I can't even tell that that's really happening. But if I'm doing it in the web browser, it's like tens of seconds, and that's really noticeable and painful. And so one thought is that potentially we could try to build basically a cloud proving system that would use some kind of enclave to allow an end user device to say, hey, can you go and like make this proof for me? And we'll rely on these assurances from Intel that like, you know, my proof data is not going to get leaked. And users could opt in to using that as a setting. And if a user doesn't want to make that trust assumption, right, then they don't have to. But if they do, they could potentially have like much faster interactions, say like while they're trading. So that's another piece of kind of user experience that's coming, hopefully, or that we could explore as a kind of opt-in thing. And mobile app seems really good, and also have some very kind of early ideas about basically how to connect Penumbra to more things and how to have that be more fun to use.
What connecting be more fun?
No, have once people bring stuff into Penumbra, have it be more fun.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. That would be really cool. I wonder what kind of fun you guys are dreaming up. We have our own fun. We're also dreaming up. That's on the horizon. Amber,
One thing that
eyebrow raise there. What was that? Who knows? Things might happen. Things are happening.
I was pretty excited yesterday. I got to use Penumbra to do a NFT mint. And then I checked the chain, and it seemed like a lot of other people actually were doing the same thing. So that was cool. But there's some like Mammoth NFT project that's Celestia related, and they offer, hey, like if you were an attendee at this conference, like you could do this mint. And now this has this problem of like, does that mean that someone has to dox like their entire on-chain activity in order to claim the NFT? And Penumbra just kind of already works. It already exists, and you can use it as a cross-chain privacy layer. So that's really cool. It also is really exciting that like that use case kind of shows off how cool and important it is that Penumbra has this built-in DEX, right? So when I was doing, like, I have a, kind of a, like, just a sort of tester wallet for using Penumbra mainnet, and like it didn't already have TIA in it, but you could just like, get the like $8 in TIA or whatever that you need to go and interact with this NFT thing, right in the DEX, right there, and then go off to do whatever action you want. And I think that's something that's kind of it almost sounds kind of stupid to be like, oh, like you need to have this like really advanced spot DEX in order to be a chain abstraction layer. But it's actually kind of true from a technical perspective. Like as a user, I'm going to end up needing to have different tokens for gas on all these different chains that I want to interact with. And so if I'm actually trying to interact with all these different systems, I need a way to trade assets. So it's cool. It's a nice example of, even if it's a small use case, it's a nice example of how the private trading component synergizes with the interchain privacy part.
I think one of the parts that I'm like super curious about, and I almost am curious, like if you've seen other evidence of this besides the TIA thing, is like the stuff you don't realize people are going to use it for, where it's just like people just decide to use it because they have their own application of privacy that we didn't realize was important. Because to me, from hearing what you're saying, like privacy for NFT minting is actually like a seems to be like product market fit for privacy. And the reason that comes to mind, or at least the thing that's coming to mind from knowing that, is like minting is often like it's a small enough population that you can do like analysis on that initial set of buyers like very easily in terms of like on-chain analysis. And this is something that I think is like intriguing with respect to like public blockchains in general, is that it's a massive data set that allows you to just kind of like look at people's activity really easily. And I think there's something pretty cool about being able to look at people's activity and not associate it to actual people, like not persistent activity. So you can, that way your data set becomes like constrained, and you get, I don't know, privacy preserving data dynamics, which I think are really cool. Because historically, like you could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like look at this action that this person's taking on this chain, and I've created like an initial, like, I don't know, like you could do an initial user population of everyone who minted like a sloth, and then you can just kind of like track them forever as a population, and that's like kind of bad, because if they become an NFT collector, they can just build an entire. It's like very easy to start associating them as like an NFT collector, which is why I kind of see the product market fit here in a major way. What's up?
I actually saw a hilarious version of that where there's one of the like blockchain analytics firms was like, "Hey, here's our like new like NFT drop, and in order to qualify for the NFT drop, you have to tell us all your addresses." And it's like, "All right, cool, like good. I see.
Eh,
Yeah,
eh, you're
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah, good one."
Yeah. No, but I do think it's kind of cool because it's like a product market fit in a really curious, interesting way. Is like honestly just like on the social level too, like the difference between like a desire to be seen for your achievements. For example, like let's say you minted all the best projects in the last year, like maybe you actually do want to showcase it versus like associability with all of your other activity. Like in the ideal circumstance, what you would do is like you'd have a fresh wallet that like that's what you're using to do all of your on-chain activity, and that's where you're getting prestige from. If you do actually want that, because there is social utility in that, right? There's social utility in having that part be selectively revealed. But having control over like what is being selectively revealed to me feels like the part that is like completely
Mhm.
missing that Penumbra slots in and kind of solves. Yeah.
And I think
Cool.
to that point, another kind of observation is for the NFT use case. It's an interesting thing to think about how privacy fits in there. I personally think that the use case of putting an NFT into a shielded pool is not really that
Like,
compelling from a
yeah.
product point of view, because once okay, you put it in, but like it's non-fungible. So once you take it out, like it's the same NFT, and that's kind of the point. Um, but and it's also a lot of the time when people have NFT, they want to say like, here's the NFTs, they're in this collection.
And people sell
And I think
collections.
that the use case of like, here's this account and it has these NFTs publicly, but it's just not known like who created this account because it was funded from a shielded pool. That feels like
Yeah.
a really practical use case, and like you can just do that today, like right now,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
works already.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is what I'm talking about. Like the implication space here is like kind of intriguing. Like we don't really like now that there's a thing that exists that actually does what people wanted. What are people going to do with it? Um, so yeah, to kind of like circle in on the same question, like what's going to happen in the next in 2025. Like it's cool to hear these like technological improvements, and I know that Henry, you've hinted at like the uh, like a sort of exchange interface maybe being developed or being in a very good place to be developed, and then
Mhm.
eventually might be adopted. And I think we mentioned that Radiant Commons might be willing to host an instance of it.
Yeah,
Um, so uh, and then you mentioned as well like a mobile payments situation that
yeah,
might happen, which is really
yeah.
cool.
So I
Yeah.
can elaborate a little bit on this. Like the long-term goal of Penumbra is that Penumbra is an interchain privacy layer. So Penumbra is going to provide private chain abstraction. Users keep their funds in Penumbra. It's their like safe, secure, shielded home base. And then when they want to go and do something, they can use whatever tokens they have to get whatever tokens they need to go anywhere. And that's the like long-term goal. In order for that to work though, you need something that is like drawing people in and giving them a reason to actually be in Penumbra, right? Um, and that's where the DEX plays a role. The DEX, first of all, solves the problem of allowing people to use it as this private chain abstraction layer, but it also provides capabilities that don't exist on any other chain. And so the goal over the next year is to like take all of this protocol level capability and realize it in products, have it be get more people using it, sand off all of the sharp edges and rough corners, and show how this network actually is the foundation for the future of blockchain privacy. And a thing that sets Penumbra apart from other projects, I think, is that there's this really relentless focus on solving specific concrete use cases. So when I started Penumbra, like I didn't want to go and build like, hey, here's this like the super general programmable privacy system. Partly because like, okay, I know that the people at Aztec are already working on that, and like if they can get it to work, then they'll get it to work. But also because I felt like that that kind of strategy or path, no one at the time was really working on it. It was either like, how do we have just like, like privacy for payments, or how do we build this like giant sort of does everything fully programmable privacy, make anything private with whatever logic you want. And the middle ground of those two things is like, let's try and build one application that is useful in kind of single player mode. And that, what do I mean by single player mode? When you have some kind of software that provides a network, there's a really challenging phase of how do you bootstrap out of the initial, something is launched, it has no users, to now it has the network effect. Eventually, you get the network effect, and then you're set. But up until that point, the people who are in the like using the software are basically operating in kind of single player mode. And I think that for many years, crypto had this problem of like, okay, you could maybe use Bitcoin for payments in like 2015, but like who do you pay, right? The network isn't there yet. And what we saw with the DeFi summer was applications like Uniswap or other DeFi primitives provided people the ability to make economically useful transactions on their own, right? Like if you want to go and trade a token against an XYK pool on Uniswap in like 2019 or 2020, like you don't actually need to go and find like the person that you're trying to pay. You're using the chain to do that for you. And the kind of strategy or thesis for Penumbra is, what is the kind of smallest possible single player mode game that you could add into a privacy protocol to let people use it? And that actually turns out to be quite complicated even with that. But having built it and created it, Penumbra is actually like currently the only shielded pool in the world where you can perform some kind of economically useful transaction without first having to find some other counterparty to transact with. Like yesterday when I found out that, hey, there's this like Mammoth Mint thing, let's go check that out. I don't have to find somebody else who like has the $10 worth of TIA and figure out how to coordinate and like do a payment transaction or whatever. It's just I go in and I transact, and I can do that as an individual. And the thing that I think is really cool and unique about Penumbra is that it has both this like long-term goal and vision of being the interchain privacy layer, but there's also one concrete application that you can use today without having to first find someone else to interact with. And so I think that there's a really cool opportunity to kind of bootstrap privacy by actually having a product.
I'm curious about like people in the audience, how that sounds, if that sort of thesis for a product deployment, or like kind of like what Henry's talking about, if that makes sense, or if there's any sort of like, you don't think that's true, like maybe you don't need a product, because it seems like a lot of crypto likes to pretend like this is true. You don't actually need a product. You just start saying things. But I am curious, like, if there's anybody out there in the audience, since we got about 15 minutes left, like we can open up for discussion here and like add some more thoughts in here. I do think it's like from a thesis perspective, it's like it feels like a winning strategy to me. We hear nothing. If no one wants to talk, then we can maybe just wrap it up and say, have a great rest of the year. Seems like we're going with that one. Cool.
All right.
Okay. Really good to see everyone who showed up. Thank you for showing up this late in December. I think a lot of people are starting to check out. But please don't check out of the chain upgrade. That's a thing that you cannot check out on. That's a thing that we need to all pay attention to, because it's important. But after that's done and it goes well, and then the chain is upgraded, maybe then we can relax a little bit as a community. But glad to have everyone show up. Ember, remind me again, the schedule that we're doing. We're not doing one next week.
We're not doing one next week, but we are doing one the week after, which is, I believe, the 2nd of January.
Oh, sick. Okay. We'll start January nice and strong. So I get this chance to say the very corny line of we'll see you next year.
I knew you were going for it.
I mean, So, okay, well, Validate Us is writing something, so I don't want to step on their toes. Oh, Henry, you're going to be at ETH Denver?
Yes. Haven't made formal plans yet, but
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I think I, at the very least, will be there as well. It's kind of our plan.
Yes.
So, cool.
I'm looking forward to Penumbra events at ETH Denver.
Well, we could do
which will materialize shortly.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I have some fun ideas. All right. Well, it was great to chat with everybody, and really excited to get through this upgrade and restore this unfortunate issue and get us as a community in a position to be able to drive super hard on UX adoption and scaling in the new year, because we have some amazing stuff ready to go.
Yeah, it was really important to go through this last quarter and make sure everything's working, and it's pretty much all working now. So it's really exciting to see that the next stage is making it just better over and over again.
Alrighty.
Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.